And now move on to a show that had good episodes.
2 of them, in fact, episodes 9 and 10, which we will discuss post haste.
So episode 9 was Hachimaki Sensei.
Gigalt
Yeah.
was his name.
Gigalt.
Really weird name.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
Kind of.
Gigalt.
Yeah. Probably be a rock type. I guess. I don't know.
Who knows? What is he supposed to be like? Is it Gigalith?
Yeah, Gigalith. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes back to 7, which is the name of their what is it? What would you call it? A space station?
Yeah.
It's the name of their let's just say space station.
For a security inspection month.
Yeah, like training. There's going to be training exercises.
It's also an inspection though of like each of the departments and like how are they doing? Was there fat that needs to be trimmed? That kind of stuff.
Right. I guess just that concept itself kind of ties into all the stuff we've been learning about Dolph and how he's trying to navigate the corporate structure.
And security inspection is done by OSA.
Yeah, which stands for, I wrote it down, the Orbital Security Agency.
Okay. I knew Orbital was right. I thought it was going to be like Orbital Space Agency or something.
Yeah, the just those terms, Orbital Security Agency, it kind of makes me think that they're like space's version of Interpol. Like they're just like they're one level above space cops. They're space cops for the entire galaxy or solar system or something.
Although Interpol operates almost entirely in Europe and we have the FBI.
Well, Interpol is like international police.
Yes. The FBI also does not have jurisdiction only in the US.
Yeah.
They're worldwide as well.
Yeah. But Interpol has the inter and pol.
Yes.
Like international police.
International pole. They do work entirely on the North and South Pole.
Well, nobody's going to police the penguins if they don't go down there.
Well, of course not. They're a ravenous band of misfits.
Okay.
We also learned Gigalt is the reason everyone has a nickname, although Hachimaki's is the only one that stuck. The rest of them did not, and I didn't write them all down. I'm sure you did.
I wrote one of them down in particular because it was the most interesting one, and that was Hourglass for the temp worker.
Yeah, and because she looks like an hourglass.
Well, the reason that I found that one the most interesting is not just because it suits her physically, but because
she leaves at 5 o'clock.
No, the reason is because when he refers to her by that name, even though she maintains her like standoffish demeanor, kind of, she doesn't like look over at him or smile or anything. She does acknowledge him like right away, which is a little bit odd for her because she's usually like
dismissive.
Kind of above everybody. But she doesn't seem to. She seems to be like receptive to Gigalt calling her by this name. So if even she is like on good terms with him, that kind of indicates that he's, like a good guy. He's friendly with everyone. He knows his way around the office.
Everybody
he's a competent
likes
worker.
him.
Yeah. So I think that in particular speaks to his character. The fact that that Hourglass is like, on good terms with him. And
then
he's a good guy.
Yeah. They after that like little introduction and they go around the office and everything, they do their
we get a little bit of montage.
Yep.
Of everybody trying to get on their spacesuits within a certain amount of time and doing a bunch of other exercises.
And they all go to the bar and for some weird celebration.
Yeah.
And then they go out into space. And it turns out that apparently if you sit in a sauna, it gets rid of your hangover.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm going to have to try that someday.
You just actually, by summarizing the episode so quickly like that, you just skipped over one of its main elements, which was romance. There's a lot of romance in episode 9.
It's true.
It opens with that scene in space where Hachimaki asks Tanabe, "Are you seeing anybody?"
Yeah, I didn't write that down.
Yeah,
I'm just looking through my summary and I didn't see it.
And we learn over the course of these 2 episodes that it's Cheng Shin who's interested in her.
Yeah, Hachi is just asking for him, which you predicted.
Which I predicted.
I remember.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And so then it's like a love square kind of, and then there's Claire as well, so it's like a love pentagon. But I really like the way that Planetes approaches romance, because even though he does ask her, that very significant question, are you seeing anybody? And, she's taken aback by that. And I'm sure she's processing, like, what does this mean that he's asking it? He's asking this of me. The show doesn't just dive headlong into, like stolen glances and blushing.
And careless whisper.
Yeah. I mean, it carries over into the next episode.
Right.
And I'm sure it will.
A lot of episode 9 goes into 10.
Yeah. But I'm, you want the romance to be gradual, because then it's something that can bring people in week after week instead of you going all in on it and just like one or two instances. So I think it's doing romance properly.
Instead of, we got married in a video game and now we have an AI child.
Yeah. Which took over the music industry on Mars many years later, or
course.
Perhaps earlier, depending on
your
the
timeline
timelines
of events.
Yeah, but there was a lot of romance in this episode.
Yeah, I do remember that. I didn't write it down.
Including Gigalt talking about Claire, labeling her the swan. Because her
she looks calm on the surface, but her feet are paddling fiercely underneath,
right,
in order to keep herself afloat. And she like takes on extra work. And it's just like, are you sure?
Yeah. Well, she probably wants to follow Dolph up the ladder.
Yeah.
That's what she seems to admire him, so that's probably what she's driven to do. To the point that she couldn't be with Hachi anymore because, like, I don't know, maybe he was holding her back, or maybe
can't be dating someone in a half section.
Yeah, I mean, that probably factored into it. She didn't want to be. She was embarrassed of him or by him.
And she does refer to them as half section, and Dolph.
Well, most people do,
but Dolph consistently corrects her and says, "You mean debris section, right?"
Yeah. Well, that's because of his past with Fee, probably.
Right.
But the flight attendant, like, who's into Chengxin, she doesn't immediately settle things with Tanabe, because she confronts Chengxin and she's like, "Is Tanabe the girl that you're interested in?" Because she's interested in him, the big love polygon. But that she's about to leave. She's about to perform her flight attendant duties, I suppose, on
a plane.
Yeah, or a spacecraft.
Yeah,
so she says,
I don't think they use planes in space.
She says to Tanabe, "We'll talk about this when I get back," rather than them just hashing it out right away. So yes, they do go out into space. What's the big event? Oh, the
illegal trash dumpers.
Yeah, the illegal trash dumpers. That's right.
And a fight scene in space.
Yeah, which was a lot of the time when there's like a lot of action set in space. I'm not very good, I guess, at following the show's direction. I mean, maybe it's slightly like jarring or chaotic on purpose, because that's how it would, like, there's no gravity, so it might feel like that when you're actually undergoing those sorts of movements out in space, when you're trying to fight somebody without your balance.
There's a novel that does it really well, and explains the whole thing quite intricately. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card.
Oh, okay.
They do a lot of games in like a 0G environment. And they have to learn, a lot about, how it functions and orientation, which like OSA would have to do. They'd have to learn how to actually like fight in space.
Yeah.
Because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you punch someone, there's force on the other end of that as well. So you go spinning in the opposite direction. You're both hosed.
Right. Well, that's one thing that we learn right away about Gigalt. In fact, that's the first thing we learn about him, is that he is able to navigate space really effectively. Like, he stops on a dime.
He
with
like
his air
flies out of it and then just stops. And it's just like, what's up?
And so he's taught Hachi a thing or two as well, because when the OSA does show up, the other guys, not Gigalt, at the end of the fight, and they're like, all right, it's time to shut this shit down. They praise Hachi for his for holding things the way that he did, and up until that point, even though he does get stuck to the ship with some sort of adhesive.
And the only reason they got him is because Toy Box is so old that the metal's just massive on the arm that he just grabbed the other ship.
Right.
Since they were essentially dumping nuclear waste into space.
Is that really what it what it was? Nuclear waste?
Yeah, because it was hot.
Oh.
This is why it was in like barrels. It's normally what that stuff's put in, because that stuff is pretty important to get rid of properly.
Right.
And the big and Giggle goes flying off into space.
Yeah, and you think that he's going to die.
And Tanabe comes out and rescues him, even though they'd repeatedly told her to stay in the ship.
That seems to be her thing. Like,
yeah.
Stay on the damn ship, Tanabe. No, I have to save the day with the power of love.
Get in the damn ship, Tanabe.
So Giggle has cancer. That's the big gut punch at the end of this episode.
Right, but only Tanabe knows it. Besides Giggle, of course.
And you mentioned that a lot of things from this episode carry over into the next one, and that's perhaps the biggest.
Yeah, because the weight of Tanabe's knowledge, and he's just like, don't tell anyone.
Well, don't tell Hachi specifically.
Yeah, but also don't tell anyone.
Yeah, she does have to keep it a secret, and it's like eating her up.
Because he's going to die, and she knows that he's going to die.
Right, and that's especially potent because he asks about what's his face,
the other
Roland, the guy who committed suicide,
and he says, "Hey, that guy committed suicide out in space. I was there," and he just went, "Wow, that's lame."
Well, you see that he's totally shaken by it, like he
stops, and he's just
doing that crazy anime thing where your eyes like rocket around inside of your.
Because he understands why. But he has a different, he has a different personality, and it's just like,
his disease also isn't as advanced. He's not spending tons of time in hospitals, I assume, or perhaps he is. I mean, he knows that he has cancer, so maybe he has spent a lot of time in the hospital.
I know, yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, he knows it's fatal, but that's actually the scariest thing about cancer is you don't feel any different. Like you don't feel sick, you don't feel weak.
Yeah.
What makes you feel sick and weak is the chemo that makes you better. Like the disease.
Well, the disease will eventually claim some of your
pretty much
your organ function.
It's pretty much a painless death. You shut down all at once and then just die. It's not a slow, painful death. It's pretty quick.
But doesn't cancer eventually like shut off some of your organs, like some of your biological processes?
Yes, but it just like one stops, then they all stop.
Oh,
it's just like
it sucks.
It's a huge cascade, so it's pretty painless. That's one of the reasons that it's really important to be screened for it if you think there's a risk for it, because you'll never know you have it until it's too late.
Right.
So check your testicles, kids.
Yeah.
Anyways, off of cancer. Fuck cancer, by the way.
Just
put that out there.
Giggle, when we learn that he has cancer, like that moment is really shocking especially because Tanabe has just saved him from death. He's just been like rescued from the jaws of demise,
which is how she gets the name Angel.
Yeah, and then immediately,
it's like right after he's like, yes, he's alive.
Yeah,
he's gonna die.
Yeah, and it's Tanabe, the one who saved him, who has to carry the burden
of knowing
that knowledge.
Yeah, which impacts her job performance.
And
almost gets
10.
Hachi killed.
Right.
In episode 10.
He's like furious with her.
Well, yeah. I mean, you would be if you almost died because of your friend's incompetence.
Yeah. And he, of course, he doesn't understand why she's acting the way she is. He doesn't understand the relationship that she has with Yuri. He doesn't understand Yuri in general, and because
this is Yuri's backstory episode.
Yeah, his aggravation with Tanabe, I feel like, kind of gets out of control, and he starts to gets stuck in a pattern of negative thinking. So then, like, Yuri is associating with Tanabe. He doesn't know what the deal is with their relationship.
Right.
He's just talking to her as like a mentor or just a sympathetic ear, but he doesn't understand that. So then he gets pissed at Yuri himself. Like, I always, why don't you rely on us more? We're your team. Why are you so standoffish?
Yeah. We learned that
which he is a little bit. Perhaps that's just a consequence of not getting to know him very well in the first 9 episodes, but we certainly learn what he's about in this one.
Yeah, we learned that the opening scene is actually his wife dying.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was very powerful. That
because we've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
At this point,
that recognition, like the fact that we now, whenever the series does that little intro, we're gonna know exactly what's happening.
Right.
Which is horrible, you know.
It's amazing. I mean, and that's, you'd think that a screw wouldn't be able to do that much damage, but that screw is moving.
The velocity
it's moving so fast.
Right.
That the energy behind it is just insane.
Yeah, that's something that it's really difficult to comprehend when they're recovering the space debris in some scenes. Like, is all that debris moving at that speed and they're moving along with it?
Yes.
Well, that's so strange though, because it's
strange.
It doesn't feel that way, you know. I guess it would really be impossible to, unless you had the planet in the background rotating at a certain speed at all times. But then you're limited in like the number of angles with which you can approach a given scene. Like you can't show it from the other direction because then you're just set against
space,
like the void. Yeah, and you don't get that same sense of motion.
Yeah, because if you're
hard task.
If you're out in space picking up debris, you're going to lap the Earth every 24 minutes.
Really?
Yes, that's how fast the International Space Station orbits the Earth. Every 24 minutes, the sun goes up and down.
That's crazy.
It's moving at like 200. It's moving at like 25,000 miles an hour.
Dude, this blows my mind.
In order for it to stay aloft, that's how fast you have to move.
Yeah.
So that's the speed that they're moving. So when one of those objects collides with something, that's like 15 or 16 times faster than the fastest bullet on Earth. So, and then it has the same mass as a bullet, and bullets can go through massive concrete walls. So multiply the energy of that by 15 times, and you can see how that'd punch right through something.
Yeah. And he survives somehow because in that flashback,
you see the airlock close behind him.
Yeah.
So that section of the cabin depressurizes and basically spaces everyone in there.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty quick death, thankfully.
Right.
But
her body is not recovered. Somebody makes mention of the fact at one point in the episode that she was declared missing, which is why he continually looks through the.
That's why he's still in debris section, probably.
Yeah, well, that's speculation on somebody's part. I can't remember.
I think probably the
bees or
the Watcher's part. I would assume as well.
Well, yeah, I think there's a decent case to be made there, but I think Yuri is also kind-hearted because he does take care of other people's animals. And perhaps that was what drew his wife to him in the first place, was that he's like a good man. Maybe he does his work in debris section not just because it gives him access to the information of the other debris sections, like not just toy boxes, but other companies.
But he wants to stop that from ever happening to anyone else.
Yeah, there could be that as well. But even apart from that, I think that maybe he just does it because he knows that it's important work, like it needs to be done. Yeah, but you're right. Like he might be thinking to himself, I want to prevent these sorts of tragedies from ever happening again. Like what happened to me should never happen. But it's cool that we're left to infer a lot of that because he's a quiet character, and Planetes in many instances is a quiet show that will let you figure that out on your own.
There's no noise in space.
Yeah, a lot of scenes are very quiet, even when they're like action packed, as is the recovery of Yuri in this episode.
Yeah,
which I thought was crazy good. I was like totally gripped by what was happening when they were trying to get Yuri back. Like the scene where he wakes up in just like there's the white background and
he sees like his wife is reaching down and like pulling him out, and then it's
Tanabe.
Right? Yeah.
Because
they'd entered Earth's atmosphere at that point.
Yeah. And so like what contributes to how gripped I was probably by that scene is just all the work like leading up to it, especially like a lot of the symbols that this episode uses. For example, the white carnation which we learn from the temp worker,
Right.
means my love endures. Like he still loves his wife, and he perhaps on some level holds out hope that she is alive because she was declared missing.
Right. Well, that is completely impossible.
Yeah, but
Because she wasn't killed by getting thrown into space. She was depressurized. She basically exploded.
yeah, but
Just actually.
he wants confirmation though. That's why he looks through. He's trying to find that compass,
Yeah.
and the compass, especially like it's so poetic. The conversation that he has with her in that flashback right before her death,
Yeah.
when she talks about astronauts wanting to find their bearings because they don't know which way is up and down. So they want something to find their bearings.
But compasses don't work in space.
They don't?
No.
Just because
A compass relies on the magnetic poles of Earth. So you leave Earth's gravity and it does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But what the compass represents is that astronauts they want to find their bearings, and perhaps not even just geographically or like magnetically, scientifically, but when you're out in space, when you're really kind of alone, you're not down on the planet with the rest of humankind. You want something to be your center.
All right.
Like
You want something to
metaphorically.
ground you.
Yeah, and for him, that was his wife who he lost. So when he's looking for the compass, it's not just the confirmation of her death that he's searching for. It's like
He's looking for a part of himself.
yeah, he's looking for that grounding force that has been missing from his life, that was ripped away from him. And so when he actually when that scene when he sees something off in the distance glinting, and it's the compass that it's coming towards him, and he's like paralyzed by it, and he's reaching out for it. It's like he's reaching out for his dead wife. And then you see off at like a 90-degree angle, death coming for him as well. Just like it's so,
Symbolism.
yeah, it's really, really well written. It's everything just converges so nicely.
All you need to do is layer some Interstellar music in there.
Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, I don't think the Interstellar music would really work in this series because Interstellar is like big and bold, and Planetes is
And
much
bombastic.
much
Yeah.
quieter. But yeah, man, episode 10 may be my favorite so far. Yuri, for Yuri's character to go from like
Basically nothing.
nice guy who takes care of people's pets to, oh my God, this guy's like a hero and like a tragic figure in the span of 20 something minutes.
And
Pretty insane.
And manages to help Angel deal with her
Yes. yeah.
issue. Just essentially, saying that, we keep things from each other so that we won't worry, to keep our heads straight when we're out there. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't tell you guys this stuff because I don't want you to, to worry or have anything else on your mind that could distract you.
Yeah.
Which kind of just gives her essentially the clarity to kind of stop fretting or worrying about the knowledge that she has.
Yeah. I mean,
Jagel's going to die.
she resolves to, it seems she resolves not to tell Hachi. And honestly,
Yeah.
I don't agree with that decision. But it's the one that she comes to. And I mean, I think that her fear about how the news will impact Hachi in conjunction with the advice that Yuri gives her kind of leads her there. And I think it makes sense because she wants Hachi to, she seems to care for him. And so she wants him not to be troubled. She wants him to, be at peace as much as he can, because he does seem to be like a bit of an angry young man type of character. I think the decision that she makes, it feels authentic, but I would tell him. And not just because he ought to know the fate of a man who he loves like a father, but also because everyone's at risk, If cancer is claiming lives out here in space as a result of radiation, that knowledge ought to be blasted everywhere.
It is possible, though, that it's just older spacesuits didn't shield properly, but newer ones do.
Maybe. I mean, Planetace is the kind of series that may dig into that at a certain point.
Because it's just like it wasn't cost effective until enough people were dying. Because it's a company running it.
Yeah.
So you could go into like, greed and how the market works and stuff like that.
Yeah. Big pharma.
Or a big spacer.
Yeah. So I like both these episodes quite a bit.
I did too. Maybe not as much as you did, but I still like them and enjoy them. I don't think I break down scenes as much as you do, and because you can really like piece together the imagery of what's happening, and I'm kind of just watching it.
Yeah.
So that's
well, there's something to be said for just watching it. You get the true movie going type of experience where it's just like an event. I nitpick everything to death, and
isn't the movie going experience paying $15 for popcorn and a bottle of water?
And anime is free.
It's true.
All right,
especially if you use our discount code to get 1 month free of Crunchyroll.
All right, I guess we're done. This has been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
If you made it this far.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you are still listening to this, but if you like Planetace, then you've got good taste. Hey.
Okay, we're done.